Okay, welcome to a Tuesday night shiur. Sorry, I didn't come last week. Last week there was a bit of a tragedy in the community, and the mood wasn't in the air, as they say. But we're back. And before we start, does anyone have any questions that they want to address? And it can be about anything. Anyone? No? Maybe? So, ulai. Okay, let's get into it. We are a week away, not a week. We are 4 days away from Rosh Chodesh Elul. What is Rosh Chodesh Elul? Rosh Chodesh Elul is when God comes down and He says, ask and I will give. Why? There are something called the 13 gates of attributes. Oh my God, I don't even know why I went to this topic. I was talking about, think about something else. See? My rabbis always told me, whatever comes out of your mouth, that's what Hashem wants the people to hear. The 13 gates of attribute, which is Kel, Rachum, V'chanun, Erech HaPayim, right? Mikel, Kamocha, Nosei. That's why we say it so much on Rosh Hashanah, we say it on Yom Kippur. Why? We say it in the whole month of Elul. Why? Because we're trying to draw down the gates of mercy on us. And that's why the beard represents those gates too. People that have, men that have facial hair, it's very important that men should have facial hair to some degree, because you're actually drawing down this energy of mercy on you at all times. We're not going to get into that right now, it's not important. But why am I mentioning it? Because in another 45 days, it's Rosh Hashanah, guys. We're getting judged all over again. We're gonna stand in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and we're gonna go through the process all over again. And a person has to ask himself, very simply, am I happy with my growth this year? Did I grow enough? Did I do enough? Where is there place to improve? You see, people have a tendency of blaming God for all their misfortunes. And that's where you get it wrong. Because you're the one that made the decision, not God. God just put everything out on the playing field. You at the end have to do the legwork. If you do the legwork, you become successful. If you don't do the legwork, you'll stay in the same place forever. And that's what really Elul is. Ani ledodi v'dodi li'ayin, for my fellow, and my fellow is for me. The Baruch was coming to the field. The Baal HaTanya brings this all started from the Baal HaTanya. People don't know this, of this Ani ledodi v'dodi. That at the end of the day, we're all one. You and I are the same person. So how come we don't feel each other? We don't feel each other because we don't want to feel each other. A person has to make it his responsibility that for him, every single Yehudi, every single Jew, regardless of how he's, and what status he is in religion, that I should have a peace and a feeling towards him. If I see someone is bitzar and pain, how can I contribute my time in order to help this person? Or what can I do to help another person feel good? Like today, I saw someone driving and he wasn't smiling. I texted him, I said, you should smile when you drive, what's the problem? And I promise you, he smiled. I don't know if it made his day better, but it definitely 100% gave him that understanding as, life's not that bad. It's okay to smile sometimes, right? You're not a lunatic, you're not high, you're not on drugs, but LMI, in the same time, positivity is the way to go. And that's what Torah of the Baal Shem Tov. Why do people feel attracted to the works of Chassidut? Right? Everyone thinks Chassidut is about clapping and screaming. That has nothing to do with Chassidut. That's secondary. What does really real Chassidut teach us? How to always be positive. How to look at the cup half full, not half empty. How to look at your surroundings and say, how can I grow from it? And not be fooled by people that do things that look weird. As it says in this week's parasha, Ki yakum bikirbecha navi o cholem chalom. A guy comes, I know these kind of rabbis, they come all covered and they touch people and they say, oh, you have this problem and you have that problem, and his gabbai is over there on the side, and after you finish he's trying to milk you with all the money you have, And he's taking everything and he says, this is holy water. I got it from so-and-so place. Drink this water and you're going to be fine. You know why people get attracted to these kind of people? People like crazy things. People like things that they don't understand. They won't accept God. They won't accept Him. Why? Because that means I have to submit to God. But I'll accept someone that does weird things. It's cool. And that's why in the time of the Hellenistic time, a lot of Greeks converted into Judaism. People don't know this. A lot of Greeks. Why? Because Judaism was a weird thing. People liked weird things. Anything that's weird, people get attracted to. Something that's not normal, people always are curious. Tell me more. I want to know more. And the Parsha says if you see these kind of people and he does miracles and stuff, don't pay attention to him. And that's why the Rambam says, Mashiach, if someone's going to say I'm Mashiach and he's going to start doing miracles, don't believe him. The point of Mashiach is not to do miracles. People have it wrong. The point of Mashiach is to bring a light of godliness to the world. How do you do that? By making the people understand that God controls the world, not miracles. Miracles will never change you, will never make you a person of belief. Now what's the proof? The Jews saw the sea split. They heard God's voice. What did they do 40 days later?
Calf.
They built a golden calf. They saw the greatest miracle. They were eating food from heaven. Can you imagine that? They were eating food from heaven. And the next day, the same day, they built a golden calf and they were worshiping it. Miracles don't change anything. Abnormality doesn't change anything. The exact opposite. When a person is solid, he sticks to his roots. He understands his priorities and he lives by them. That's what changes a person to good. Nothing else. No one else can change you besides yourself. I had a case, a guy called me. Hashem should help them. A young couple, they're getting divorced from Islam. They're not even a year married. Okay, whatever the case was, it didn't work out, right? Or they still have a hope, but maybe it's all biyad Hashem. And what is he saying? He said, I understand my faults. I understand what I did was wrong. I understand. I really understand. Yeah, I was out of proportion for A, B, C, D. She was out of proportion for A, B, C, D. And I came to a realization, to a stage of maturity that I want to change. I want to be a better person. With her or without her, it's irrelevant. But he asked a simple question. He said, why is this happening to me? And it hurts people. When people go through tragedy, the first question they ask is, well, why me? Why not somebody else? And the answer is really very simple, but also very scary. Because if you wouldn't go through that, you would never change. You needed to go through that tragedy in order to see the light. I remember going to the Yad Vashem museum in Eretz Yisrael, the Holocaust Museum. And they built it in a way that it's very narrow, dark, and there's a small light at the end. And the tour guide over there said, never forget that even though how dark it is when you start your journey, at the end there's always a light. And that hit me, and it was years ago. I went to the Yad Vashem maybe 10 years ago. And it still sticks with me that regardless however your process of your life is, by any journey you go, if you're not learning from it, it's just gonna kill you. So that person needed to go through such tragedy in order for him to wake up. The sad part is when he doesn't accept it. And what happens when a person doesn't accept it? It happens again. Why? Because he's not rectifying it then. The point and the purpose of that happening is really the biggest gift you can ever have in your life. Because if it wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't have learned anything. You would have thought that everything is good and perfect and dandy. And really, it's not. So you had to go through such a process in order for you to understand, I have to wake up. But where's the connect here? How come so many people don't wake up? So many people stay in the way they are? Because change demands from you to do effort. And when it comes to doing effort, no one wants to do it. It's not hard for everyone here to be a billionaire. I guarantee you, especially in the 21st century. Why don't people do it? It demands a lot of sacrifice and effort. That's why every guy that has an opportunity to open up a pharmacy, the next day you see him bowling in a car. Like, what's up, shot? What's wrong with you? Or whatever it is, different businesses. I don't want to get into it, and I know all of them. Why are you doing that? Because what comes easy, it has no value. So what do? They waste everything automatically. They think we're living the life. You're not living anything. You never really hustled. You don't even know anything behind the business. You're lucky you have someone that needs you more than you need them. They just don't know it. So what happens? You don't care. There is no value for anything. That's why the people that go through there's this new therapy that's going around. You know what LSD is? Taking these shrooms and all these things, right? You ever heard about it? You know it works. Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't work. It works. But you know what the problem is with it? You don't do any effort for the change. You get to a certain mental realization of an awakening of why certain things happen, but you as a person don't actually change. You become alert. And that is what breaks the human being. The change has to be difficult. It must. Because if it's hard, it's more rewarding at the end. And that's what we have to tap in. We have to tap in to the things in our personal life which are difficult and not run away from it. And everyone knows his own personal life, what it is, including myself. I'm not an angel. I have a big baggage, big luggage that I have to fix. Huge. But at the end of the day, I'm not running away from it. I'm embracing it. I have to tackle it harder and harder. Why? Because I know if I want to be the ultimate human being, I have to face it. So why don't people face it? They're better with the devil that they know than the devil that they don't know. I already know the governor that I have already. I'm just gonna stir the pot, mix the smell, put some spice and all over. You're telling me to spill out the pot and start a new soup? I don't know what's gonna come out of this one. So I'll stay with the same thing and just pour more water. I'll always eat from the same pot. Shote. Dafuk. Idiot. Metumtam. Why? Because you're not bettering yourself. What's the point? You're going to have to come back in a reincarnation and relive the same thing until you come to a realization that I have to be better. You picked the life that you're in now. You picked your family. You picked the way you looked in all the circumstances. Why? Because your neshama knows really what's good for you.
Do we pick our tests too?
You pick the circumstances. The tests come to you during the journey. You pick the surrounding, the family, the father, the mother, the color, the body, the whole thing. You pick, the Gemara says. Why? Because your neshama knows at the end of the day what needs fixing. Your soul knows what it needs. So people come and say, I would never pick wherever I am today. If I had opportunity, I would be, you know what kind of house I would be? You're lying to yourself. It's not true. Your Yetzer Hara is making you think that way. Why? Because you want this. You want respect. You want luxury. But your soul really knows what's good for you. Your soul knows really what needs to be fixed. Your soul really knows that you're in that situation because that's the only thing that can help you be elevated and nothing else. So when a person comes and whines and screams and complains about his circumstances, what is he actually saying? I don't want to work on myself. It's hard. Congratulations. Welcome into being a human being. It's supposed to be hard. It's not supposed to be easy. But you know when it starts to become easier? When you start to accept it. When you start to accept the reality that you're in, automatically you start to live a more pleasant life. Because the blaming is out and the negativity is out. So what's left? Thinking and positivity. And only through positivity can you defeat all traumas in your life. Every single trauma you'll ever have, you can defeat it through positivity. Why? Because you learn to accept it. Because all the things that we're trying to run away from is because we're not accepting the reality that we're in. I don't want to accept the fact that I didn't pass A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Oh, Habibi, you didn't pass. Wake up. Good morning. Who you lying to? Where's the denial in? Where is the denial in? So a person can stay depressed for 50 years. They can stay in the same hellhole. And depression is Gehinnom. I want you to know that. Hell on this earth is depression. I want you to know that. Because to live a life that you can't crack out of is like basically being in fire and burning yourself up forever. To be so confused that you just don't want to live is being in Kafakela. Kafakela is even worse than hell. It's a limbo stage. It's a stage of being nowhere. Every day in a different location, by a different shul, by a different rabbi, trying to get inspired. No one's going to help you. I'm sorry to break it to all of you. No one. Besides yourself. And until you don't have that, you're not ready to go into Elul. You're not ready for Salichot. You're not ready to understand what it is and Rosh Hashanah not to anoint, but to announce that God is not our Father, but He's our King. He's our Melech. It's higher. It's such a level of such a submission. I'm willing to submit every fiber in my body to the Creator of the world, which created me, which put me in this world because I am needed to be here today. So I'm the greatest emissary for God because He wants me to be here right now. I want you just to meditate on that concept. You are alive because you are important. The second you are no more needed, you will perish from this world. Your soul will leave the body. As long as your soul is in your body, you are needed. So what does it mean that you are needed? God is watching you every single second of your life. He didn't just assign something to you and leave. We don't believe in that. We believe that He's with you at every second. Use the bathroom, He's there. You shower, He's there. You're with your wife, He's there. You're with your kids, He's there. You're in business, He's there. You're in shul, He's there. Wherever you are, He's there. How come I don't feel it? Because you're not thinking about it. He feels you. How do I know? Because you're alive. If He didn't feel you, you wouldn't be in existence right now. So the chisar, the minus here is not on the God, but on who? Yourself. And that's why, what do we start the day with? Modeh ani lefanecha. Thank you, God. Whoa! God? You start the day with God? I don't want to worship this kind of God. That everything is around Him? No, but everything that He's doing is around you. How come we don't think about it that way? Because we don't know how to think positive. We have to learn how to fix our structure of our brain. We have to learn how to redevelop how we think. And it's a problem. Especially in our circles, our community has this issue. Unfortunately. And it's not our fault. It's not our fault. In many communities, they look and they focus only at the negative of people. We have to stop that and start focusing only on the positive of people. Because when you give attention on positivity, then those people only want to do positivity. But when you focus on negativity, then those people only want to do negativity. Why? Because they want the attention. And if you're giving them attention on a negative reinforcement, then the only thing they're going to give you is negativity. But if that attention is going to be on positive reinforcement, automatically everything they're going to want to do is on the positive. And when you change your mind, slowly every day 5 minutes just saying thank you. Slowly 5 minutes just appreciating everyone around you. Slowly every day for 5 minutes appreciating your parents. If they're alive, if they're not alive. if they're here, if they're not here, if they left you or they didn't leave you. You have to appreciate them. Why? Because they made you. Better to be here and not know them than not be here and not know them. That's the mindset that has to be. People have a tendency of complaining and whining, finding every excuse. No, did anything good come out of that? No. The more you complain, the more you deny. And no one wants to live that way. That's a life of choshech. That's a life of darkness. That's a life of bitterness. So where are we actually going into? We're going into a time full of light. I'm so excited for Elul and Tishrei. These are like, steroids to an ecstasy level. Everything is the Jewish religious spirit. I don't like to use the word religious, but the Jewish spirit is coming to town. Everyone's running. Selichot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Etrog, Lulav, Sukkah. Everyone is on a high. Everyone's getting ready. But what are you on a high for? What is it are you on a high for? Can I know? Is it for all the physicality, or is it for the thing that really matters the most, which is God? That is the greatest drug. The greatest drug is to know that God's with you 24/7. It's scary, but it's so true, because when you know that, you know nothing can ever beat you. You know that anything obstacle that comes in your hand, God's with me. If I pass or if I don't pass, it's irrelevant. I know everything I'm doing is with God. And that's why in Yom Kippur you can be forgiven. You want to know why you can be forgiven? Because God's a partner with you for everything that you do. The fact that He's your partner, He has no choice but to forgive you. If He wouldn't be your partner, He wouldn't forgive you. He would say, it's your fault, you have to get the punishment. Elamai, now He knows, but He knows that since He was involved with it, then I have to do the forgiveness. And we become pure people. But don't wait for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Who knows if we're going to make it to those days? Who knows if we're gonna come out of this door alive? Maybe this whole thing is gonna fall on us. Who knows? That's what you have to do every second. Every second, every fiber you have in your life, you have to think about godliness. I'm not crazy, guys. I promise to you. I'm not on drugs. I'm not sick in the head. Maybe a little bit, but it took me years to understand this. It took me years to understand that if you just get high off God, you're just going to be a happier person. It's crazy. You know how many of our own people I made religious just on this concept? I'm talking about old people, like in their 50s and 60s.
They're much harder.
They're not harder. You're wrong. They're so much easier. Just the generation don't know how to relate to them. Because when they see an observant Jew, what do they think right away? I can't relate to him.
Sure.
So you have to know how to, unfortunately most people don't have this skill. You have to know how to relate with these people. And what's the number one way of relating to these people? Over food. I'm serious, I'm not joking, I'm telling you. I do this for a living. You relate to these people over food. You get to their heart, you drink with them, and then you talk about God. And suddenly they become crazy. I made non-believers into believers just by letting them enjoy godliness. By doing no mitzvah, just by thinking about God. Because at the end of the day, that makes you alive, which is your neshama inside of you, wants to always reconnect to the source. Everyone at the end wants to be connected to where he came from. And the only way you can do that is by reigniting it. And how do you do that? By realizing that it's not you, it's only God. Does anyone have any questions?
I have questions to come up. They also have a bizarre notion that
the kids are just gonna like become rabbi, they're gonna become this, become uber religious and leave their parents for good. And that's
Why?
not
Because
fun for them.
unfortunately we adapted the custom. I'm sorry. We adapted. Our kids are going in the mainstream level, which the mainstream says it's either they keep or they don't keep. And if they don't keep, you have to disassociate yourself from them. And if they keep, you have to associate yourself with them, which is the greatest destruction to Jewish Jewry was when the kids start to keep Torah mitzvot and they throw their parents like a piece of garbage. That's not Torah mitzvot. That's hefech Torah mitzvot. That's why I love this community so much. On the same table, on a Pesach table, right? Rosh Hashanah table, you can have a guy that's a kofer beikar, doesn't believe in God. You can have a guy that believes in God. You can have a guy that doesn't shomer Torah mitzvot, but he believes in God, and you can have a rabbi. And we can all sit on the same table, eat, drink, and enjoy, and talk about godliness. But then if you go to certain cultures, it's not even matsui, it's not even found. It's not found. And that's a problem. We turned religion into a cookie cutter. If you don't fit my frame, you're not welcome. Who said? Who said? Since when was this considered Torah mitzvot? Where's this approach from? This approach comes from the not Jewish ideology of the European Jewry. The Europeans were very into it's either my way or the highway. And if you don't like it, I'll chop off your head. It's a Goyish approach. The Sfaradim, the Middle Eastern Jews never had such a concept. Everything was about what? Finding unity, family, father, mother, oneness. I want to see you tell your parents you're going to put them in a nursing home. You won't live the day before they'll even need to go to a nursing home.
It's unthinkable.
By the European Jews, they're already preparing which nursing home they're going to go to. This is a very big cultural difference. So when you bring their ideology into our religious world, and then they go and tell their parents, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to crash. Because they're not taking the positive approach. They're taking the negative approach. So the first level, the first key, I'm telling you how to work to make someone a Baal Tshuva is make sure you go down to his level. You don't have to do what he does, but you have to make sure he knows that you understand why he does it. And unfortunately, most people don't have that talent. Why? Because they're missing the main key in Torah mitzvot, which is Ve'ahavta v'reacha kamocha. They're missing the fundamental point of Judaism, which is, behold, I love every single one like I love myself. Bli yotze min haklal. And why don't we have that? Because we live in a day and age where it's everything kochi v'otzem yadi, lasut parasha. Everything's about me. Me. You're gonna die one day. You're gonna die. It's still gonna be about you. You're gonna be dead. Your kids are gonna bury you. They're gonna fight for everything that you ever had. They're not gonna even remember you. Your grandkids won't even know that you ever existed. After 2 generations, your tombstone is gonna fall because no one even visits you. Then what? You're still gonna say it's about me? You're dead. You're done. You're finished. You have no continuation. You'll just be a portrait on a wall, maybe in someone's house that you did good. Once a year, you sure they're gonna get up and say, "Oh, he was good, man. He did good." Then what? Then what? Is that the legacy you left? That's a disaster. How do you change that? By becoming a better person. By remembering that everything comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if you can't do that, you're not ready for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Because what does really Rosh Hashanah mean? Putting God on top of us. If I'm too busy worrying about being on top of my friend and showing off my car and my watch and my suit and everything that I have physical, then where's God in the equation? God's not there. He was never there to begin with. So who's the loser here? You. You're lying to yourself.
I thought God was with you everywhere you go.
Correct it. But you have to know that. And you only know that if you accept that. If you don't know that and accept that, then you're lying to yourself. That's my point. Don't worry, my hands are fine.
No, I'm sensitive.
You're sensitive?
Yeah.
May Hashem make you less sensitive?
No, but the sound, sensitive to sound.
Hashem yishmor otcha. You understand? So a person has to not just believe it, he has to know it. And if he doesn't know it, then what happens? He's lying to himself. He's lying to himself. It's like going to a person and telling him, listen, doctor goes and tells him, listen, you have diabetes, habibi. You gotta go on a strict diet, and if not, you're gonna die. And he says to the doctor, what do you know? My father lived till 90 years old and he was fatter than the biggest person I know. Doctor, you don't know anything. The doctor says you're gonna die. You're gonna go on insulin, they're gonna cut off your hands and your feet, and you're gonna die. And the guy is denying it. Who's the fool here? The guy that's denying the reality of life. And that's what we do every single day to ourselves. But God's with us. Do you believe it? Only when it's convenient. So you don't believe in God. You believe in conveniency. Believing in God is also when it's not convenient. Because when you believe and it's not convenient, it starts to become convenient.
You don't have to just believe, you have to know that God is there everywhere.
Correct. And how do you get to that level?
Through your life experiences.
Give me more.
You start saying that nothing is a coincidence, everything happens because Hashem made it that way.
Okay. True. But here's the connect. Here's the thing that people are missing. A person that says he believes but doesn't do, you ready? He doesn't really believe.
Like spiritual people.
No, I don't believe in spirituality. One time someone says to me, I'm a very spiritual person. I'm like, what do you mean you're spiritual? I believe in God, but I believe regardless what I do, He'll always love me. You know what those kind of people are? People that want to do whatever the hell they want. In the it's either you believe and you go, or you don't believe and you live in a fantasy land. Why? Because believing means doing. Now, don't get me wrong, it's hard. There are steps. Everyone has to grow. But as my father says, how many years are you going to stay in first grade for? You're 40 years old, you're still in first grade. You still say, Bor Nefashot 50-50. You don't bench. Minhaj, Shahari, Mechar, Arvit, you do when it's convenient. At a certain point, you have to understand that I know it's true, but now I have to work on myself to start doing. Why? Because doing the mitzvot in reality is drawing down godliness to you as a human being. And until you don't do the mitzvot, you're not drawing down anything to you. You're believing, but you're not taking. And in order to take, you have to start doing. Is it difficult? I don't deny it. But is that our purpose of our existence? 100%. So who are we lying to when we don't do? Ourselves. It's black and white, simple like that. Does anyone have any questions?
What about the people that were in yeshiva their whole life? They're just on autopilot. They're just doing it.
Correct.
You're saying that they're getting all the reward essentially? They have no purpose. They're just doing it.
So
they were taught to do it. They're doing it.
Okay, so here's my question. I have a question. I have a follow-up question. This idea of why do we do mitzvot? Why do we do it first of all? What's the purpose of us doing it? What do we learn? Why do we do it? Huh?
It's commanded to us.
It's commanded. And if you do it, what do you get?
Reward.
You get a reward, right? Shem Yirach. This is the idea. That's the idea they teach in the religious world, which is an idea that we have to teach little kids. We do things for reward, right? Once you reach a certain age, which is hopefully by 8, 9 years old, you have to refrain from teaching your kids that idea. Because we're not doing it for a reward. If you always say you do things for a reward, you're in trouble. It's bad discipline for people. I bring a paycheck home, then I expect my wife to be like a kachuk and she has to set up everything for me at home. Who said? It's not true. I don't know if it's hot. It's not true. It's wrong. We don't do things for reward. We do things for connection. Now, when a person lives in this world in this Torah mitzvot and he's only doing it for the reward, does he feel close to God? Zero closeness. And everyone knows this because you guys have been in mainstream yeshivas. Zero closeness. You feel the biggest emptiness of your life. How come the Baal Tshuva always feels high?
That's what I'm saying.
Huh? Do you know why? Because at a certain point he doesn't care about reward and punishment. He cares about what? Connection with God. I love Baal Tshuvas. I love them. I love their craziness. Why? Because they're authentic in what they do. They're not doing it for reward and punishment. They're doing it to make them happy, to make them feel. And that's real Gan Eden. Gan Eden and Gehinom, on a certain extent, is in this world right now, the way we live. If you enjoy your Torah mitzvot and you're happy about it, and you feel a sense of satisfaction, you're in heaven. You're walking in heaven. But if you feel that it's dragging you down, oh, again, I have to put on tefillin. Again, I have to wait 6 hours between meat and milk. Again, I have to be tsanua. Sorry, but it's part of the speech, right? Again, I have to do this. And again, I have to do that. Blah, 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 blah. Then what is Torah for you? It's like living in hell.
Robots.
It's disgusting. And unfortunately, 70% of the religious world is like that. It's sad. And I know this now firsthand after opening up my social media. The message I get, your jaw would drop. Would drop. These are people, when you look at them, you would say, wow, I want to have their life. But then when you know really what's going on in their life, you're like, I don't want their life. I'm good. Because authenticity is not there. Everything is robotic. If you don't fit a certain way, you're not accepted. Stone was like that. And that's why it got destroyed. So you have to ask yourself, what am I lacking in? What do I need to improve in this year? Maybe it's something that's not physical, but maybe it should be something that's more emotional and mental. Maybe we have to change the tangent. Change things that are not so important. How about start learning about the mitzvot that you're starting to do or that you're doing? Understanding the Siddur, opening it up and start learning the translation, understanding what you're saying. Understanding the Birkat Mazon, last week's parasha. Understanding what are you saying thank you for? Who made thank you? Moshe Rabbeinu, Yehoshua, David Shlomo. Why did they make it? What is this establishment? What did they put into it? What are we drawing down when we do these things? Because if you don't understand what it is, you'll never feel a connection to it. We don't just do it because it's va'achalta v'savata u'berachta. That's not. That's the pashut pshat. That's the simple level because the Torah says we have to say thank you. But elamai, at the end of the day, there's a deeper meaning. And if you don't ask yourself that I want to know what the deeper meaning is, there's something missing in your connection with God. There's something missing, and you have to figure out why don't I want to know more? I want to know more. And if you're not saying that, you have to do hitbonenut and hitbodedut every day and cry to God, I am sick. I'm mentally and religiously sick, and I need to be helped. And the second you understand and you tap out of it, you're the most healthiest person in the world. It's a kaif. It's such an enjoyment. You don't have to care about anything or anybody else. Why? Because you know what you're doing in this world. Emptiness comes from not knowing what I'm doing. Not financially, but existentially. Does anyone have any questions before we finish? Go ahead.
What do you do if like you want that connection, but it's just like time is just like so limited and like you just
So
very
someone spoke to me about this yesterday. He's in dental school actually, second year. And I asked him a simple question. I said, do we live to work or do we work to live?
work to live.
None of them.
No.
Why would you live to work?
We work in order to live. We don't live in order to work. Right?
Yeah.
You have to understand what it means prioritizing. Now, I'm not oblivion to the reality of what school is. I'm not an idiot. But in the same time, you have to understand that if you don't find time for your spiritual needs, you will start to diminish and start to become a zeroness to yourself. And that's when depression starts to hit. And it's the worst feeling in the world, I promised you. I've been there for years. I was there. And the second it pops, it's the greatest redemption a person can ever have. But that only starts when you're going to be willing to do self-sacrifice for what's right. Now, it doesn't need to be 10 hours a day, but it needs to be consistent on a certain amount of time a day. And I guarantee to you, if you take an hour of your day to learn, it's not gonna make such a big difference on your test when you go to medical school. I guarantee it to you. I spoke to many doctors and lawyers that went through this. But you need to understand, why am I living? And that comes through learning. What's your question?
For the Jews that left from Mitzrayim, they saw all of this stuff, and then they went through the Yam Suf. How could they even think of doing the Chet HaEgel? Like, how is that even a thought?
So you're asking a very great question. It can be broken down into a couple of parts. First of all, the Midrash says they got a small prophecy that they saw that Moshe Rabbeinu passed away, and they weren't really worshiping the golden calf. They just wanted like a leader figure and so on and so forth. That's one. Mm-hmm. Number two is a proof that miracles don't work. Miracles don't work. No miracle made anyone closer to God. It just doesn't happen. Again, Exhibit A, the Jews saw the sea split. Notice to see a sea split. I don't think we can't even fathom such a thing.
That's what I'm saying. How could they?
We can't fathom it. You have no idea. Food from heaven, it's like a skaska. It's like from coming back from a Looney Tune. Food from heaven coming, and we're eating, what is this, popcorn? What are we eating, snow? So how come they sinned? Is because they were missing, unfortunately. When someone's a bit too smart, his smartness can bring his own destruction. There's a concept called bittul. Bittul means self-nullification for a higher power. When someone becomes too smart, he starts to think of kochi v'otzem yadi, it's all me. And that becomes your destruction. That's why anytime a person does anything, he has to understand one fundamental rule. Everything that I have was a gift from God. I'm smart because God gave it to me as a gift. I'm wealthy because God gave it to me as a gift. And so on and so forth. And that's why Moshe Rabbeinu is called the most humblest man that ever lived. He wrote in the Torah, he's the most humble man. How humble do you think he is? Right? Imagine writing in a book, I'm so humble. You're gonna think that guy's humble? He's like, look at this devil. Is it right? He writing about himself that he's humble? Yeah. Why? Because he knew that he was only writing because God told him to write it. That's real humbleness. That's greatness. And that's what we're missing. It says that the generation of the Jews that left Egypt will be the same generation that will see Mashiach. Why? Because we're here to fix that. What's that? Realizing everything comes from Hashem. And that's why we needed the Baal Shem Tov to come. To infuse this ideology on every single living being and fiber of our body that everything comes from God. And we will see Mashiach Tzidkenu. He's coming. He's in our days. He's already alive. But only the ones that will be strong and live in faith of God will prevail and see it. But the ones that are not strong will not see it. Even if He will come today, right now, this second, they will still deny it. And same thing, they're saying a lot, big percentage didn't come out of Egypt. Why? Just because of this. They didn't want to accept the reality. Any other questions?
If like you said before, that even miracles couldn't bring people closer to God, like they still kind of still like didn't like believe. I don't know what it was. What would be the best way to kind of influence someone to be closer to God?
By making him realize that everything he has in his life is through God. And it sounds weird, but I'm going to give you a small example. Everyone, every day of his life, sees major miracles. Let the noise pass. Everyone, every single day of his life, sees miracles. It's not a question, it's a fact. The question is, do we realize it or we don't realize it?
We don't.
We don't realize it. You know when we start to realize it? When we start to contemplate our whole life.
Tragedy?
No, even positive things. When you can sit with a regular person and have a good and enjoyable time and infuse God by explaining the greatness of Him, he starts to have a lingerness, a small little taste of maybe it's not all me, maybe there is a God. He starts to doubt his decisions and his power that he was thinking from the beginning of time. Why? Because you introduced it to him through a happy time. Not through negativity. When you introduce God through negativity, everyone sees God as a babaika. That's why the approach of teaching your kids, oh, you're doing wrong, you're going to go to hell. What does he associate God with? Hell. So what does he say? I'm already going to hell, might as well kai pava. But when you use the approach, the exact opposite, what happens to the child at that moment?
God equals positive.
He wants to do it. Because positivity always feels better than negativity. And that's your answer. Infuse everything in your life with the positive and connect it to God. Any other questions? Okay, Rabotai, this Sunday is Rosh Chodesh. Please, before Rosh Chodesh, which means in the next 2-3 days with Shabbat, do tshuva beforehand. It's okay to start in Av, Chodesh Av. You don't need to start in Chodesh Elul like a tuki, like a parrot. Start a little bit before. Show Hashem that you really have this closeness to Him. You can do it privately before you go to bed. You're not psychotic, you're not mental, you're not insane. You can start before you close your eyes after you say Shema, you say Hashem, let me see your light in this world. I really want to see you and feel you. I want you to make me closer to you. I apologize for disobeying you. And I don't care about the punishment. I care that I disobeyed you. I was an not obedient servant of yours. It's an example. If someone's married, right? Your wife didn't do anything wrong, but you told her not to do something, and she did it anyways, but she didn't do anything wrong, really. Are you going to be upset? Of course. That upsetness is coming from where? That she disobeyed what you wanted. And vice versa, if she tells you something, right? For example, women, they say they hate when there's water all over the sink. And the man doesn't care. He wakes up in the morning, he cleans himself, he makes the whole thing like a shower, and and she's like, wow, what did you do? Right? But that, is coming from where? It's coming not from, now she has to clean. It comes from the disobedient part.
All I ask is a tiny thing.
Right? Hey, you can break her jaw in 30 seconds if you know how to play certain moves and certain things. Unfortunately, this generation lost that touch. But Lamai said, what was the upset all about?
It's the principle.
The fact that you were disobedient. Our tshuva has to be based not on that we're scared of punishment, but because we were disobedient to God. And automatically, when it's based on that you were disobedient, you never want to sin. In a klali way, in a general way, not in a specific way. And that's what the Baal Shem Tov teaches us, how we have to go into Chodesh Elul. And if you don't have that mindset, you're missing the whole point. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen. Amen. Rabbi Hanan Moshe